you might be seeing this later on and not knowing that we just did a quick prospects show. I got to say that doing shows like this is a lot of fun. Because when we could talk and break things down, especially when it's about baseball and we're in the draft season and spring training is going on, it's very cool, Deary. I'm very stoked. I'm very excited to be here. It is a Thursday, and we are going to talk strategy session number 2. That's right. Give me 2, Utah. That's apropos. Oh, hi, Yoshi. Yoshi's here, by the way. Hello, Yoshi. Yoshi, come on, come on. Jump poop butt, everybody. Yeah. There she is. And it is also 2 days away for me and Deary as we focus in on strategy. Glarf is right around the corner, Deary. The Great Lakes Area Roto Fantasy League is going down Saturday live in Chicago. Sarah Sanchez, shout out to her. She'll be hosting at her apartment. I missed it last year because my brother was depressed. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to all the Glarfers. But we're going this time. And me and Deary are going to hit the road with our pal, Aaron Cummings. Shout out to Aaron. You can follow Aaron on Twitter at something about Saber Tigers. I'll look it up and I'll share it in the live chat. But yeah, me, Aaron Cummings, and Chris Deary will jump in a car together, barring a snow catastrophe, Saturday, March 4th, and we will go to Chicago for a draft. Deary, break it down. How excited are you?
I'm super excited. Last year we missed it. We drafted virtually and from our homes, and I had maybe one too many tequilas, but it's gonna be fantastic to see people in person and give some hugs and some handshakes, and maybe try some bourbons and some beers and have a really raucous time with the Glarfers. We are, of course, the defending champs of Earth, so I expect us to be really on our game tomorrow, and I'm super excited. You know what pick you got, Mike?
Yeah, am I number 1?
I think
or 2?
Number 1.
Somebody said in the live chat, or not the live chat. There is a live chat right here. You guys could jump in and talk to us, tell us what's going on. But in the chat that we share, the Glarf chat on Twitter, we have DM, and somebody said, Govier, who you picking after the KDS ran, which is the Kentucky Derby Series setup of where you set which picks you prefer to get, 1 through 15. It's a 15-team roto 5x5, no trades. It's on NFBC. The first year was on Fantrax, actually, and we had trades. Really? Yeah, and there was OBP and quality starts, and there was trades. I really liked it, but
that sounds fun. I am a big proponent of trading and OBP.
Yeah, I'm all about it, but it moved to NFBC, and as most people know, NFBC is just not a trading platform. It's for redraft. It's not a dynasty place. It's not a keeper place. So that's what we got now, but we're really excited. Some of the best in the business, Dave McDonald from Rotosaurus, High Stakes Heat, Jake Hallisker. That's right. Last year I finally learned how to say his name, Hallisker. Jake Hallisker. Shout out to him. Shout out to all you guys. Jake, by the way, loved our commentary about the big Christ on I-75 because he's from Ohio on the last episode. Yeah, and I didn't mention that Christ actually was struck by lightning and burned down, and they rebuilt it even bigger. So that thing's just never going to die. You cannot kill Christ. I think actually the Bible says you can't kill him because he came back from death, right? Do I have my facts right on that one?
I should know this. I went to Catholic school for 8 years, but I have no clue.
Anthony Zeri says, he's back. That's right. I was just on the air 10 minutes ago with Ben and Matthew Thompson, who's a great dude. Matthew Thompson's the man. He's a prospects guru, works at Prospects Live. He knows his stuff. I met him at Arizona First Pitch last fall in November, and he was a really nice guy to talk to. He's really succinct, encapsulates all the information for you, nice and tidy. Really enjoyed talking to him about the Cardinals and Royals next big 3. Check out that episode here on our YouTube, which you should subscribe to. Anthony says, long time no see, MJ. I'm like, yeah, I just saw you 5 minutes ago. So we're going to talk about strategy today because last episode we got into some of it, but we didn't finish everything, Deary. There is a lot to break down. There's so many different types of formats to play, head-to-head, points, roto, dynasty, redraft, and then you got different platforms, like we said, ESPN Fantrax, yada, 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 on and on and on. Yes, it's very overwhelming. But I think we're going to try to encapsulate a few points here related to not just formats, but also some of the new changes for 2023 and how we adapt to that with strategy.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a couple different styles. I listened to you on the Pallazzo with, Justin and
Oh
Dave,
yeah,
and
yeah, I did that.
Baseball Pods was on there as well, and it was really great because they talked about some stuff that a lot of pods don't talk about. And we're going to hit some of that stuff today, considering when it comes down to like head to head. Maybe we'll throw a little Dynasty in there. There's a lot of different styles out there, and a lot of people play a ton of different games. So much of pods seem to be NFBC focused, but there's still people that play Yahoo. There's people that play ESPN. There's people that play head to head. You and I still play head to head. I play keeper leagues, dynasty leagues. So, there's a lot out there, and, not everybody's just playing roto. So if you're a pod, and you're looking to kind of switch some things up, there's a lot of people that don't just play roto. So, I think it's important to hit all the different styles of play.
Hell yes. That was a lot of fun hanging out with Dave McD and Baseball Pods and Justin. And I actually feel like I didn't cover enough because there was a lot of voices. I don't know what Dave brought to the table. He didn't really have a lot. He was just there. I love you, Dave.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was still fun. Chad says it's a beautiful day, gents, because Parker Meadows has murdered another baseball. Goodbye, baseball. As Rick Riz, was it Rick Riz or Bob Rathbun? I can't remember which one said that.
It's so weird. Like, you always talk about Rick Riz, and I don't remember him announcing.
I do this too much.
I don't know why this happened. Like, how did I miss out on this? Like, I was watching Tigers baseball. I was listening to it on the radio. Somehow, I guess it's just a voice I never knew.
Chad says he's got an actual question for you, Deary. Go ahead, Chad. Fire away here. Everybody in the live chat can fire away. The Pallazzo Invitational, I'm going to get into business time momentarily here, but yes, that's what we're going to talk about today. It's a strategy sesh. Oh, wow, my nephew has a phone number now. It's a milestone. Congratulations. His first cell phone.
Like 8? 10? How old is he now?
He's 10 years old. So
okay.
Congratulations, Nick. You got your first cell phone, buddy. Good for you, pal.
Life can only get worse.
Let the brain cancer commence. So I guess cell phones don't give you brain cancer because we've had them for a long time now. We're not getting brain cancer, or maybe they do. I don't know. Who knows?
I've survived.
What's the truth? Yeah.
My brain's a little foggy, but I don't think it's from the cell phones.
Here's Chad's question. In Dynasty, if you were the person churning prospects for MLB talent, how frequently do you need to hit on prospects rising to have enough value at all times to make acquisitions when needed? Whoa, dude.
A very loaded question. I'm not even
That
sure
is
I understand
intense.
this one. Let me break this one down. Okay. In Dynasty, if you're a person churning prospects, which I don't tend to do in Dynasty, I'm always in this win now mode in my keeper leagues and my Dynasty leagues. How frequently do you need to hit on prospects?
If you're churning them out to if you're trying to win every year, yeah, you got to hit what, like 70% probably?
Yeah, I mean, a lot depends. Like, is this a salary cap? Can you trade? In our league to be named later, I've been getting, over the last year and a half now, I've been just getting so many trade offers for Andrew Painter, who 19-year-old phenom, looked fantastic yesterday. And I'm just not getting enough value in these trades that people are trying to offer me. They're trying to offer me future picks and guys like 3 or 4 prospects that, I haven't heard of. They've probably been talked about on the Pallazzo Prospects Power Hour with Gentle Ben and Mike. But
what's one that you turned down? Can you remember a trade offer you turned down?
No, I'd have to go back into it. But really nothing stood out.
What would it take to trade Andrew Painter?
I'm not going to trade him.
Oh, you're just not. Yeah.
No, I'm not going to trade him. I'm not going to trade him because I'm really, really weak in pitching. I got a bunch of 33, 34-year-old, journeymen on my team. And I'm just hoping that I can get Painter up here at some point later this year. And then hopefully he's hitting 150, 160 innings next year. He's a guy that I'm keeping. Brett Beatty's another guy that I'm keeping who,
why do you like him? Why do you like Beatty?
I like him because he's a prospect that he's super cheap. And that's the thing with salary caps right now is he's $500K. I have him for the next 3 years at $500K. So he's super cheap and he's going to get some playing time at some point this year. I don't know how long Eduardo Escobar is going to be able to hold that down. And he's been okay so far this spring training. So in terms of, hitting prospects, you got to hit your prospects in a dynasty without a doubt. For myself, it's really hard for me to look towards the future in a lot of leagues, especially 3-4 years down the road. I just don't have the acumen when it comes to evaluating prospects. There's other guys out there that are going to be much better at that. I got my 5 or 6 guys that I'm going to look at and, kind of look at what they're doing, but nothing's guaranteed. There's guys that can be absolute studs and end up 4A players when they get to the majors. So, I think in the last probably 15 years, a lot of these guys that are top 15, top 20 picks have hit a lot more often compared to what it was, in the 90s. There's all these guys that ended up being absolute busts. And, that's just because scouting is better, analytics is better. You'll be able, there's a lot more video on a lot of guys that are minor league baseball players. So it's a lot easier. It's hard to put a number on how many, percentage of what you want to hit on. But if you want to hit on those guys that are going to be the superstars, the Julio Rodriguez is that, maybe you had 2-3 years
Answer this question too, Deary. Here, keep answering questions. I'll be right back.
Oh, this is great. Okay. So question coming in here from To Be Quite Frank. How high are you on Corbin Carroll for single season? Are you paying up to 80 ADP? Did you see his triple today? Well, he had a triple today, and he also had a exit velocity of 109. I believe it was yesterday or 2 days ago, and that was probably, a big concern for a lot of people that are checking out on Carroll. I took Carroll in my TGFBI league. Let me bring that up right now. I took him in the 4th round, right there on the turn. I had the number 1 pick overall. And I took Carroll. I love the sprint speed of Carroll. He's a guy who could certainly go 30 stolen bases. And if the power can get there, if he can get to 20, 25 home runs, bat 265, 270, leading off in a Diamondbacks offense, he's a guy who could be a 2nd round pick next year, possibly on the fringe of 1st round. So Corbin Carroll's a guy that, a lot of people are, paying 80 ADP for him right now. And I'm certainly one of those guys. Did not see his triple today. I'm going to have to go back into that. But yeah, I drafted Carroll on my TGFBI. And a couple of my other drafts that I'm in, he's going right around 75 or 80.
Wow. Okay. Well, Corbin Carroll is going to get more helium as the spring goes on because he's a huge prospect too. So gotta have it. But I think we should slow our roll a little bit. I'm not going to blow my load on him. There's a lot of reliable guys out there. I'd rather have Starling Marte. I would. I really would.
At the heightened age, I mean, how many bags is he going to swipe, and is he going to be healthy? I've stayed away from Marte this year.
I drafted Starling Marte last night in TGFBI round 5. It was at like pick 92, I think, 89 or 92. So I chose to do that because he could easily steal 30 bases this season. He stole 2 years ago 47. So it's not like he's... I think there's a lot of fear related to the surgery he had with his groin in the offseason, but he's healthy. He's only 34. He's not done. And stealing bags is what he's always done. He's not the kind of guy who's just going to fall off the map. He's going to steal bags for a while. So if you get worried about an injury in spring training, you're like, oh, I don't know what to do here. You can get burned later on a guy who's going to be in a really good lineup, hitting at the top of that lineup, the Mets lineup, hitting in the 2-hole, or leading off possibly at times, who knows? That is a guy you got to have. And even if he does have injury history, he's put up some really good seasons in the past, and I'm banking on it.
Yeah, he went in the 7th round of my TGFBI. Obviously 33, 34 years old, but this is a guy who's been able to swipe 35 plus bags as recent as 2 years ago, like you just talked about. And with these new rules and a guy who's a veteran and a solid guy when it comes to having the acumen to steal bases, if he can stay healthy, 30 bags is certainly in play, and getting that in, round 5 may be risky, but I mean, we'll see. I'm staying away from him just because of, the injuries and his heightened age, but I would not be surprised if he gives you 4th, 5th round return this year.
Yeah, there it is. Here's the draft board from TGFBI. I'm in the 2-hole there. If you want to see, I'll zoom in a bit. That's me, and I took him in round 6, at the end of round 6, and then I came back with Robbie Ray to start round 7. I could have had Alex Bregman. I passed on Bregman for Marte. Would you have done that, Deary?
I like Bregman. Bregman's a guy I got in a lot of leagues. He's kind of the end of it, really drops off at third base kind of after Bregman. It's like Bregman and Henderson, and then there's just
Shut up, Chad.
was a
You don't know
super
shit.
drop off after that. I had the one pick in TGFBI, and I certainly like my TGFBI team. We are in round 9. I like it a lot more than my Pallazzo podcast League 5 team right now. I fucking hate my team in Pallazzo right now.
Oh, Chad's talking shit, by the way. Yeah, 4 stolen bases, 19 games. That's not going to happen for Marte. Marte's going to play more than 19 games. Let's bet on it right now.
What's the floor here? 120 games?
It might be 100. It depends. If he got groin surgery on both sides of a groin to repair it, and he says he feels great. So if that's good to go, then he's going to fly. He's had other injuries in the past. He's not a permanent injury risk. There will always be challenges, but I'm banking. Marte was a guy that went in like pick 45 of drafts over the last 2 years. He was a top 50 pick easy. If I get him 50 picks later this year because we're worried about the injury, I'm going to do it. And I did it. And that's that.
Well, he's also your guy.
Oh, wrong button. I want to lock it in. Hang on. There we go. I locked it in. Okay.
He's your guy. He's someone that you seem to always draft in that.
But I waited though.
3rd to 5th round. Yeah.
I waited. I didn't jump on him. That's the key. So, anyways, just showing you the border real quick. There it is. That's a TGFBI league, whatever the hell league it is. As far as the Pallazzo Invitational, Deary, yeah. We're in round 34. I'm actually on the clock. So let's go live. Once again, Mike Govier is on the clock in the Pallazzo Podcast Invitational League 4, the League of Death. It is round 35, I believe. Yes, 35. So what round are you guys in on the Pallazzo Podcast Invitational? You're in League 5, Deary?
Yeah, we're in 14.
Oh, okay, 14.
It's picked up here as of late, but man, the first few days were really rough.
How quick is your TGFBI moving?
We are in round 9. First 3 rounds we were maybe getting through a round and a half a day, but it's picked up a little bit lately.
Gotta hide my queue. Shit, Royce Lewis is at the top of my quew. There you go. It's no spoiler alert. It's round 35.
Someone's sniping you on Matt Verling here and Jonathan Loizinga.
No peeking if you're in my league. No peeking. So round 35, I just took Lee Trevino. You ever say Lee Trevino when you try to say Lou? Because I've done that before.
It's going to happen a lot more now. Lee Trevino.
Oh, my God. There's a ton of comments I got to get to here. Ryan,
late pick. Oh, Brian K.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, at this point, the biggest regret I have and what I've learned most from the Pallazzo Podcast Invitational, League 4, which is still open, by the way. You can sign up now. Go to the Pallazzo Podcast Twitter feed. It's at the top. It's pinned at the top of our Gimme 2 Utah, 2Ls, 2Zs Pallazzo Podcast Twitter feed. You can sign up. We're trying to get to 10 leagues this year. We're finishing up filling League 6. So we've surpassed last year already, which is great news for everybody here who loves the Pallazzo Podcast. But the biggest thing I've learned from this draft is shortstops, man. People are talking about third base, but I'm telling you, if you don't get a shortstop early, you could really be hurting, Deary, because I took Willie Adames. That's my starting shortstop. And after that, let's see if I can bring this, show my roster a bit more on the right-hand side. I just don't have a guy. I've got John Bertie, who plays multiple positions, but not third. Josh Rojas doesn't play short anymore. John Bertie doesn't play short anymore. India doesn't play short, of course. None of my outfielders play short. And then on the bench, I got third baseman. I got second baseman like Gorman. And then I got outfielders. I got no shortstops here. If Willie Adames gets hurt, I'm in deep doo-doo.
Where did you take Adames?
Let's pull up the draft board.
I'm cross-referencing it with mine, and yes, it seems like a huge drop-off after he goes.
Looks like round 7 I took him.
Yep, that's where he went in ours as well.
Okay. Well, I'm here live I'm just going to make a pick here. I'll pull my queue out a bit because I don't even care. I think I need a shortstop. I can't take Royce Lewis. Joe Adell is always like, oh, Joe Adell, maybe he'll finally break through. But nobody seems to be buying that in this league as we're at pick 511. Jeff Zimmerman had a really interesting tweet about Geraldo Perdomo the other day that has me intrigued to maybe take him because I don't believe in Nick Ahmed. Nick Ahmed is always Garbo. He's your classic Garbo. Nick Ahmed is the player I think about when I want to die. It's like he sucks my will to enjoy the game of baseball, dear. He always has. There's nothing fun about Nick Ahmed. He's so blah, blah.
And this is the point in the draft where you can take risks, where you can go for guys that, this is a draft and hold. There's no FAAB. So this is where you start taking risks. And
I agree.
Nick Ahmed is not fun.
I mean, I took risk. Lou Trevino, by the way, could close. I could see Clay Holmes not handling this job. Lou Trevino's on the roster this year. He has closing experience, and the Yankees have a lot of wins and save opportunities to come. So he's definitely worth a late round flyer. That's why I did that.
I agree. There's going to be, I don't think they have found their true closer. I would not be surprised if they make a move at some point during the season, especially at the deadline. I think there's going to be a handful of guys that could get, 10 saves.
And then you think about a guy like Noelvi Marte, who has shortstop designation here. I mean, is he going to play this year? Will he be up? Can we really be sure of that? I just don't know if we can.
And he could be around. He could be around for a while. I mean, it is round 35, but I mean, what I noticed last year in my Pallazzo in the last 2 years is my rounds 35 through 50. Like, I never saw any of those guys during the season, or if I did see them, they were just garbage or DFA'd. Like, I mean, this is where you got to, do your research and find guys that you could see get pulled up because of a possible injury. Maybe someone gets traded away and they have the opportunity to possibly play 75, 80 games and really help you at the end of a fantasy season.
Chad says, what's the shortstop list? I'm pulling it up here. So it's at the top of it by ADP. It's Royce Lewis, David Fletcher, Taylor Walls, who has 3 positional eligibility. I'd kind of think about doing that. I don't know. Diego Castillo is not on the Pirates anymore. He's on Arizona, which also is a logjam if I want to take Perdomo. I mean, how many opportunities are there here? And then the one I'm thinking about taking is Nick Allen. He's not a sexy name, but he's gonna play for the Athletics, who are a Garbo team. Yep. Right now, at this point, at pick 511 of a 50-round draft and hold, I'm looking for guys who are going to give me at bats, and so I'm thinking I might have to go with Nick Allen, although it just does not excite me whatsoever to do so.
No, but to your point, you're trying to find guys that can get major league at bats if you have an injury with some of your top, 23 to 27 guys.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Why not? I'm just going to do Nick Allen. I was thinking about it last night. Maybe I'll regret not taking Geraldo Perdomo.
I was thinking about Nick Allen last night in round 3.
Last night, I was thinking about Nick Allen, and boy, I got to tell you, I had myself a lovely evening. Sure did. Okay, there it is. That was fun. Some more live drafting. God, you guys had a bunch of comments I missed here. I feel bad about that. Let's go back real quick. This was what Deary was talking about, Corbin Carroll. To be quite frank, on Twitch. You guys can watch us on Twitch. I never checked Twitch, but we're on there. Didn't know he had a 109 EV. Love that. There you go, Deary. You're informing the masses. Great job. Anthony says, Andy Rodriguez might be a Pirates opening day catcher. Yes, he might. He's a highly touted prospect. There's no doubt about that. I just got
delivered a martini from my wife. This is amazing.
Holy cow. Yeah, look at that. Nice job, Christina.
Mike, back when you enjoyed martinis, I got some blue cheese olives in here, my friend.
Oh, I used to love those. Those were delicious. Blue cheese olives and a martini. A dirty-ass martini. More olive juice, the better.
Yep.
Chad says Marte. Oh, I already said. He already ripped Marte. Anthony says, is second base then third base position to focus on due to scarcity of position? And first base last since it's so deep? Well, I'm telling you right now, shortstop needs to be moved up the list of scarcity. I think it's as bad as third. I will say that right now. I'm not ready to change any more opinion on that on March 2nd. But as of today, in early spring training, I think shortstop should be right there with third. That's my concern, dude.
Yeah, there's been so much talk. I mean, I'm in TGFBI right now. We're in round 9. All the top third basemen have gone. But I was actually looking at guys that are available. I'm not going to give any of these names out because I really do want to do well in this league this year. There's some guys around pick 200 that I like that could give a top 150, 125 to 150 value. Vinny P. I got Vinny P, my first baseman. I think first base. I mean, it's really tough. People talk about, scarcity, things aren't deep, but it doesn't mean there aren't players out there that could really rise to the top. Second baseman, a lot of people talk about that. And all of my drafts, I've gotten second baseman early. And everyone says, yeah, shortstop, super deep. But Mike, you've been talking about how you hit round 7. And after that, it's kind of bare unless you're looking at a Nico Horner type guy who, sure, maybe 20 stolen bases, improved lineup this year. But I mean, is that who you're going with your starting shortstop? I mean, it's so tough when you look at these, 15 team rotos. For years I was playing 12 team head to head, and it was like guys you would see on the waiver wire were top 150, 160 players. Now we're looking at 15 teams, 30 rounds. There's just a lot of guys out there. And yes, it gets bare. And this is like the one thing I will say to people that are doing Roto maybe for the first time or doing a 15 team for the first time is don't get depressed when you get to pick 200, when you're like, oh man, none of these guys excite me. Do your research on these guys. Some of these guys that are ADP 200 can be top 100 players, but they got to hit.
Yep, that's fair. Let's go back to the chat here. There were some guys who had questions while you were talking about Andrew Painter. Anthony wants to know, Grayson Rodriguez or Andrew Painter? Who do you value more, Deary?
Well, I mean, Painter's only been in the league 1 year. He had 1 year in the minors last year and was absolutely amazing. And we're probably going to see him this year. Grayson Rodriguez, we're going to see him as well this year. But, how many innings are you getting from Grayson Rodriguez? I mean, Rodriguez, probably a little more pedigree in terms of, he's seen more minor league, seasons. He's seen more guys that have more elevated, bats. But yeah, I think both of them are going to be really good. Are they hitting this year? I don't know. Next year, the year after, I mean, there's going to be growing pains with every pitcher. There's so many pitchers that come up that you fall in love with, and then they just don't hit. Look at Brady Singer. A lot of people were all about Brady Singer 3 years ago. He really didn't start putting it together till last year.
Yep. Chad says, I sold Yuri, Painter, Drew Jones, Jackson Jobe, Leiter, and a lot more. So I'm leaning toward going harder and gutting further, and I'm confident in my prospect finding ability. I just want to make sure I'm not overconfident. So that's Chad's thing. Like he mentioned earlier when he asked you about that, what kind of return rate do you need when you constantly load up on prospects and sell them at a perfect point? You got to be, it's like timing the market, which would be a really difficult thing to do, a very difficult thing to do. Chad also says, by hit, I mean finding guys like a Yeti Cappy who isn't owned or ranked, but will soon be a hot commodity. Oh boy. And then he trades the prospect for a guy like Corbin Burns or Garrett Cole. And that's what he's doing. There it is.
I mean, you're in win now mode, and you're going for commodities, like well-known commodities. You know what you're going to get from them. You know their ceiling, and you know their floor, and you're okay with their floor. Prospects, it's a whole different story.
Yeah, Chad said, was that Jose Iglesias as we scrolled through the shortstops on my draft? Yeah, he was available, but no thanks. I'm just not ready to roll there. Chad says, especially with Brendan Rodgers now being hurt. Now, I mean, he had fantasy moments. He did. He actually did over the last year or two. He's a streamer, at least at times. Yeah. As Chad says, especially with Brendan Rodgers now potentially out for the year. Yeah, Brendan Rodgers got a shoulder injury. It's for real. Yeah. That's a real problem. So maybe I blew it, but there's also Ezekiel Tovar and blah, blah, blah. There's all these. There's also a guy, Alan Trejo, was a guy who came for a cup of coffee last year for the Rockies, and he put up some decent numbers. So they got a bunch of guys that could be in the mix. It's just, there's a lot of convoluted uncertainty related to positional opportunity at this point in the season. Chad says, I'm in love with Horner.
30 stolen bases, legit in play, much improved run in RBIs.
I think so. I love Horner. I've always loved Nico Horner. I've always been a fan of Nico Horner. I support the Nico Horner lovers out there. Cheers to all of you.
If you don't have a shortstop at pick 180 to 200, Horner's probably your guy. I mean, I'm not dogging him at all. I don't have a shortstop.
He's going higher than that, though.
And
his ADP's at 139.
Is it really?
You believe that? Yeah. That's what I saw on the other night when I was looking at it. No. He's climbing the draft boards. People are expecting big things from Nico Horner. Okay, we got to get to business and we got to get to the strategy. So, Anthony says, Matt Mervis is this year's Vinny P. Hot take or cold take? Matt Mervis is not the father. Yeah, I'm not doing it. Matt Mervis will not be Vinny P this year, and I'm going to lock that in, Deary, right now. There it is. Locked in.
Nobody can be Italian breakfast. I love that guy.
Exactly, but Matt Mervis might not get the opportunities as well. Some of the signings they made do give me pause about how much they expect to get from Mervis this year. I mean, Eric Hosmer in the mix. That's like... So, not because of talent, though. No, it's not about talent. It'll just because As Chad says, the Cubs hate the idea of Matt Mervis. Yeah, that's well.
It just might not be his time. It's just they play that game. They play that game with stud prospects. Sometimes it's not their time.
Sometimes it's just not your time. That's fair. Well, let's get into business time. It's the time for business on this show. I don't get to stand up anymore. My stand-up desk life was such a short run,
It's over.
I had it for like a week. Yeah, now I'm on location in Brighton. My life's all fucked up.
What's going on?
We got a 5-hour car ride coming up. I'll fill you in on everything. So
what's going on with your music right now? It's not really coming through my headphones. I also noticed
You're not
that
hearing
when I was watching your prospect hour as well, it was kind of like in the background, almost like it was on your phone, just coming through the mic.
Oh my God, am I a moron? Did I not have the right settings? I'm gonna kill myself. I won't kill myself. That's
It's been the wrong mic the whole time. Why didn't somebody tell me this? What the hell?
I noticed
ruined.
I noticed it when you're on with Ben and Matt.
for making love.
God
You
damn
turn to me and
it!
say something sexy like,
How come those guys not notice anything? What?
I know.
Yeah, why
You
didn't
relying
you
on
say
the people?
You're trying to say, oh yeah,
I'm really sad right now. That was
it's business time.
yeah. His audio sucks today. Why did somebody say that sooner, Jamie? How long did it? Now you're saying it. I'm pissed. So wait, were the drops ever coming through then? Have you not heard one drop today?
They were faint. They're faint.
Because they were being picked up by a fucking camera microphone. That's what was on. Oh, StreamYard, why do you change my settings? StreamYard, why do you change the settings? I have the same settings every week. You sons of bitches! God!
You gotta get your act together.
Downgrade Govier's entertainment level down to a 4.
I'm so disappointed right now. This is,
Pick it up.
I mean, I just did a show about what makes a good podcast at Pallazzo. I'm so upset about this. All right, I gotta get over it. I gotta get over it. People are going to watch the show. They're going to tune in after we had some nice views on the last show, and they'll be like, this sounds terrible. This is trash. Know this. Mistakes were made here. We're on the right audio profile now. Boy, I'm so upset about this. All right. Anyways, business time-wise, what do we got?
Oh, man, you're so bummed
Tout
out.
Wars.
It's going to be okay.
I know. That's the whole show. I'll get over it eventually. I feel like I'm at softball right now. That's what I feel like. Tout Wars. I'm going to Manhattan in a couple weeks. That'll be fun. Looking forward to that. I'm going to see Baseball Pods there. He's going to be in town, too. It's also St. Patty's Day weekend, so a lot of people are going to be there. It's probably going to be a Bozo Fest.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Al Melchior's Pod. I love it. You Mean an Album. One of the best shows out there. Big fan of it. Beat Govier OC. This is news. If you've not heard this, because this is not something you would have heard before. Beat Govier 12-team OC. I'm doing a live draft a week from right now. Next Thursday at 9 o'clock, I believe. We're going to be live doing the OC. I'll be doing the show while drafting. And if you want to try to beat me, you can sign up now. I will give you the link, and I'll put it in the live chat. So you have it because you want to beat me, right? That's the whole point. Beat Govier OC. That's officially live. Somebody found it already and signed up. I noticed there's 2 of us in there, and it's a 12-teamer. Remember, if you want to play a 12-team FAAB League too, it's FAAB. I won an OC last year, Deary, so I feel like OCs, I'm getting a handle on it. I think I have a clue of what I'm doing. So that's the good news.
I want to play in a league with you. If you think
we don't
about
play in a league yet? We're in the Pallazzo Podcast Invitational.
Yeah, but we're not in this. We're in the overall, but we're not in the same, designated league.
Fair enough. I'll give you that.
I was hoping that someone would drop from the future and I could just add you back in. A lot of people have been clamoring for you.
Yeah, I thought you were going to do that. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see what
I
happens.
wanted to kick a couple people out, but they responded to text and got back in.
Did Luke get angry about that? Did I tell you that Luke got pissed about that when I hinted that he was going to kick you out?
I wasn't going to kick him out. I approached him at the feast about it, and I was like, look, dude, the last 4 weeks, you just... Actually, the whole fucking season, he just blew it. He had I think 5 weeks where he didn't hit minimum innings pitched. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Let Govier take over your league. And he's just like, oh, it doesn't fucking matter, Deary. I was out of it. And I'm like, you don't get it. Luke, you're my friend. But you don't get it. And now that he has a baby, I don't know. Maybe you should talk to him and take over his team. Because the thing is his team is not even that bad at all. I think he finished in 12th place or something
he
like that.
He loves prospects.
If he had
he's a prospect master.
If he had a real manager running this league that could take over for him, I think he'd make the playoffs this year.
So pissed about the audio. That we did a whole. So that means that whole prospect show was shit audio, and those guys didn't recognize it. I mean, I'm gonna have to tell Ben. Hey Ben, you gotta help me out. You gotta be my wingman, Ben. When I need you gotta be there for me. Anywho, this is a funny bit here from Patrick, who's always hilarious with his quips. He's a quipper. Patrick is a funny guy. Patrick knows a lot about fantasy baseball, and he says you should have watched that Pallazzo about podcasting thing. Yeah, I should have. That's a good point. Yeah.
That's putting it mildly.
That's definitely putting it mildly. All right. Donovan and I will have a Sunday show together, working and progressing on that, which is fun. He's talking a 20-man league I set up, too. Jesus Christ, 20-man league. All right. Yeah. If you guys, Jamie, if you and Donovan could do a show together, you should do that Sunday Night FAAB thing that we talked about on the Podapalooza What Makes a Podcast Better thing. Do that. There's a gaping hole there. People need it. I try to do it, but Sunday night's also FAAB for me, so I got to do that as well. Yeah, shocking. And
I think Sarah Sanchez
is
going to be doing a FAAB show on Sundays. I think she announced that in our Glarf chat, which will be fun.
Oh, she is. Good for her. That's a great call. I'm glad she's doing that. She's going to fill the void in the market. That's great news. All right, yeah, so sign up for the Beat Govier 12-team OC. I dropped the link in the live chat if you want it, and I'll be promoting it over the next week. We got 7 days until the OC goes live. We got to fill it up. We got to make it happen. Then there's Jared Perkins, who popped by the last show, the prospect show I did with Ben and Matthew Thompson a little while ago. And Jared Perkins is a great dude. He's doing really, really great stuff in the Prospects Live world, which Prospects Live is elite. They do great work. But he's also looking at mental health and how the game impacts youngsters as they come up through the game. He played some baseball himself. He's worked with the Royals organization. Jared Perkins knows a thing or two about this stuff. So please follow him, get to know him, connect with him through Prospects Live. I love Jared. He also works in Washington, which is a cesspool of hell. And you got to give him credit because he's actually trying to do good things out there. And I don't know how he does it, but apparently he's doing that. All right, and then the Patreons are humming along. I suspended billing for March for all the people who've been there since day one. There's no billing for March either. It's totally free. If you're a newcomer, though, you will get charged. So sorry. It's not a great way to grow the brand. But I'm rocking out the Five Guys series. I'm working on the athletics one tonight, actually. And then I've got to update my top 493 head-to-head rankings as well. Groove Govier's out, as Deary promoted last week on our show here. Said it was one of the best articles in the game, and he's not wrong. My latest is out. I talk about some combos. You know, I don't know if you read it, Deary, but I had a chance to pick two different sets of a second baseman and an outfielder because I'm at the turn. I had the first overall pick, and I was stuck between, should I take Ozzie Albies and Luis Robert, or should I take Randy Arozarena and Marcus Semien? So it was an interesting conundrum, and I wrote about it in the latest Groovin' with Govier. I think I'm curious what you guys would have done. You know, Albies and Robert, there's more ceiling, but there's risk. Semien, Rosarina, a little safer.
It's a great comparison. I love Luis Robert this season. I have not been able to scoop him up yet, but I've drafted him twice already. I'm on the Robert train. You took him in the second round of Pallazzo, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I got crazy with it. I'm out of control. Like, screw ADP. I'm going to do what I want when I want.
Yeah, fuck it.
Chad says the Pallazzo podcast. Oh, yeah, fuck it. Yes. Pallazzo podcast Twitch exclusive season preview Q&A is airing Saturday at 6 p.m. I've been writing for days preparing for the show. Yeah, that's great. Shit, I didn't even know that. You know, Chad is representing us, by the way. Speaking of business, Chad is representing the Pallazzo podcast in the Fantasy Six-Pack Challenge. So, Chad, you better not let us down, okay? Because we're expecting a lot from you in that one. And if you let us down, I'm going to be pissed. No. Chad, do your thing. We love you, buddy. Thanks for doing that. Check out Chad's work on the Twitch channel when he puts it out. Anthony says, have you ever had Five Guys before? You damn right I have. It's overrated. I think Five Guys is overrated. I think it's overpriced.
Thank you. I have a Five Guys right across the street from us at Arborland. Never been there.
Yes, you do.
We've lived here 4.5 years. I've never been there. I've been to Five Guys before. I've been to the one over on Ann Arbor. Damn! I don't know. People go nuts about their fries. They're just
they're terrible.
Soggy, oversalted shit.
Dude, if you're going to pay that money, go down the street to Shake Shack. It's way better.
Agreed. Yeah. Or fucking go to fucking Blimpies.
Well, of course, locally in Ann Arbor, yes. But I was just thinking of expensive chains. Shake Shack, way better than Five Guys. Shake Shack's got the crinkle cut fries, but if you get them crispy, they're really good. And they got the portobello mushroom burger, which has no burger in it. I actually eat that thing. It's fucking delicious.
It's so much cleaner. Like, I feel like I mean, obviously it's not healthy, but I feel healthier eating those Shake Shack burgers in Ann Arbor.
Five Guys fries suck.
Garbage.
Total trash. Yeah, they are. They are just total garbo, and I'm glad. I mean, even if you had a ice cold Coors or a... Either way, it's not going to make it any better. You'd have to be shit-faced to enjoy it, actually.
I was scavenging through the fridge the other day. We were out of beer in the house, and I just wanted to have like one beer. And I found a 24-ounce Coors in the back of the fridge. That was probably like a Dave Tomset classic from like 3-4 years ago. And I drank it, and god damn, it was solid. And I'm not a Coors guy, but it was solid. It was a Coors Light.
Coors.
Okay, well, hey.
This right here is a silver bullet, all the way from Colorado.
All the way from Colorado. Yummy. Okay, well, that's fun. I'm glad you enjoyed that, Deary. Oh, Leody Tavares is a beast? Where does this come
3
from?
years ago?
Did he just do something in spring training? Is that why you're saying that, Uncle Ted? Uncle Ted, I usually agree with some of your comments you've had here on the show lately, but I'm not sure I could agree with that one. Uncle Ted, you coming for Christmas this year? What the fuck are you guys talking about over there? Uncle Ted, we got Chad, we got Uncle Ted, we got Bob Dole in the Discord.
Yeah,
make sure you join the Discord. It's total bozo fest. Oh, it's
Flawless victory.
Make sure you join the Discord for free. Patreon's free for those who've already been involved. It's $3 if you want to sign up. And I'll tell you what, the Patreon last year in season, I crushed it. It really was a valuable tool. I did Govier's guys like 5 days a week at least. Every day I posted about guys that kicked ass or maybe needed to be pointed out and recognized or that were shitty that you needed to get away from. It was definitely worth it. So I think you should try it out. And Chad says, Deary's drinking a half-decade-old booze explains so much. Yeah, it does. Ted Kaczynski was right? Oh, what is this? Okay, Uncle Ted talks. Come on, Uncle Ted. I mean, are you saying that because Deary's wearing a Michigan hoodie? Is that why? Ted Kaczynski did go to Michigan. So.
We got big game tonight. Got the Illini on the road.
Huge showdown. If they beat Illinois, they're in. If they beat Illinois, they're in because it's a road game.
Well, the thing is, they could finish second in the conference or ninth, depending on these last two games.
Yeah, I know. It's like the West Conference in the NBA. It's just like a huge margin for change depending on day-to-day operations. All right, there it is. That's business time. Discord's free. Pallazzo Podcast, 2 L's, 2 Z's. You should always be there with us.
Utah.
I'm so
so
upset about the audio, but we now have 11 minutes of quality audio, so I feel better about it now. I guess, it's 40 minutes into the show. Let's get into leading off.
Should this be called rounding second?
Oh, yeah, we could call that. Yeah, rounding second and heading for home. We could play
reading off.
Yeah, or we could just be this.
And he stood there like the house by the side of the road and watched it go by. Struck him off.
Yeah, it could be more like that. Yeah. Either way, it's time for the catch of the day.
Good. Our first catch of the day.
So I want to talk about Alex Cobb's comments, which got a lot of publicity. Alex Cobb not pleased with the pitch clock. The I-75 Jesus-esque size pitching clock, which we will be saying all year long now. Not for everybody. Alex said it didn't feel like pitching at all. And it's like he was betrayed by his own sport. It was really sad. I read the printed version of what he said, and reading it in print, I felt like, boy, Alex Cobb is depressed. What do you make of Alex Cobb's comments, and do you give a shit, or is it pointless, just spring training fodder to get us through another day and opening day?
Yeah, I read it today as well, and as a former mid-tier high school pitcher, it was fucking depressing, man. Like, I get it. Like, I really do sympathize with him. There are going to be those handful of pitchers, and he's the first that came out and spoke about it, where it messes up their routine. He likes to call his own game, and if he feels rushed and he can't think about what he wants to do for his next pitch, he talks about how he has to go through the analytics, where we are in the count, thinking about what pitch he wants to throw, where he wants to throw it, and he feels rushed. Like, that really sucks for a guy like Alex Cobb, who's been around for quite some time, been much better in his 30s than he was in his 20s. And he feels completely just defeated by this clock because it seems like it's messing up his game and the way he calls a game. And there's going to be a lot of other pitchers out there, whether they come out and say it or not, that they're going to feel rushed. They're not going to be able to go through the routines. They're not going to be able to process through their brain what they want to do on the next pitch. Going through their, he talked about how, he was going through the buttons, the little pitch thing that they have with the catcher, and he felt rushed by it because there was some miscommunication. It wasn't working. And then all of a sudden the clock is getting quicker and quicker and is getting towards the end of time. And he just felt rushed. And there's going to be a handful of pitchers that do this. They're going to get used to it. They're going to adapt. But, for him to be the first one to come out, a guy who's a vet, it's not going to be the first time that it's going to affect some guys. And in terms of the fantasy aspect of this, I think you have to take credence into this and you have to, start to think about those guys that are going to come out and talk about it a little bit, that maybe it does devalue some of their, ADP when it comes to, fantasy play. So, it really sucks for him. I feel bad for him. I think he will get used to it. I don't know the guy, but
you don't know him? Oh my God.
No, I don't know Alex Cobb, but there's going to be guys that probably come out and are frustrated by it.
Wow, dude.
I feel like those guys that are maybe a little older, like Alex Cobb, a guy that's in his early to mid 30s, this is such a big change for them. You think about the guys, they've been doing this in the minor leagues here for a couple of years. Those guys that have already gotten used to it in the minor leagues, it's going to be a pretty smooth transition for them. Those guys that have been in the majors for quite some time are certain guys. I think of a lot of relievers. Kenley Jansen's a guy that takes a long time to go through his process and pitch. So I'm really interested to see how it shakes out with him this year. So, it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes. How much credence do you take into it as you're drafting some of these guys? I think you might have to think about it a little bit, especially those guys that are coming out and talking about it.
Yeah, we'll dive in the strategy in a second here. Anthony says, the girl from the Manson family died, Uncle Ted. Thanks. Computers are taking over, says Uncle Ted. This is dynamite information here in the live chat. You have a genius formula set up for what it's worth. And Chad says he always gets distracted by shenanigans for 90% of the show, and then he has to cover the topic the following week, so people always have to keep tuning in to actually get the strategy. Is that our show? Is that what you're saying about us? It's all gibberish, and then we don't
suck.
Anthony says, place bets, MJ. I need the White Castle. What does that mean? How come I'm not understanding what you guys are talking about over here? Okay. Oh, Deary, look at this. Oh, boy. I don't want to alarm anyone, but I just watched Salvador Perez steal a base in 2023. Oh!
5 stolen bases out of Salvi this year?
Wow, dude.
Wow, dude.
That might be one of the signs of the apocalypse, says Chad. Well, maybe. Cobb is just mad because it means we get to his annual injury a lot faster.
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah, hell, Cobb has been on enough rehab assignments that shouldn't bother him at all. Yeah, well, maybe that's the thing. Cobb is just such an easygoing, slow, and patient guy. He doesn't like to be rushed. He likes to take his time, go on. He likes to take a lot of sabbaticals. His rehab assignments are slow and drawn out, and he's a guy who enjoys vacations and getting away from it all. Maybe he's not built for the hustle and bustle that's become Major League Baseball now. It's like going to the big city. It's like the Big Apple in New York City now. Move, go. He'll adjust. He'll figure it out. He was annoyed, but he said he'll figure it out. That's all. Just wanted to mention that because this pitch clock thing's not going away, and that leads into our strategy talk today. Strategy session number 2, Utah. Give me 2.
Utah, give me 2.
Today we're going to talk about how do you make your FAAB decisions? Deary, how do you make FAAB decisions? What is the tenets of the foundation for making your choices? FAAB leagues means waiver wire leagues. Even if you don't use a bidding system like FAAB, if you just have waivers, it's the same concept. How do you make choices? How do you spend money? Who do you target? Is it need-based only? Is it looking to the future later in the year? I mean, there's a lot of ways you could approach a waiver wire / FAAB.
Yeah, I think about my last 2 to 3 years playing on NFC, and it's completely different than any of my, weekly head-to-head leagues where, there's waiver wire and you're doing, daily, pickups. We're thinking about Sundays, and everybody talks about NFC Sundays is the time to make your fab picks. And, when it comes down to it, I'm looking at pitchers that are going to go twice in a week. That's probably the first number one thing that people are looking at. It doesn't necessarily need to be need based for me. It's more of like, who are those guys that hit in the last week and a half? When it comes to starting pitchers, we talked about pitchers. Hey, turn that light back on.
It's nighttime, Deary. It's a Blair Witch Project Deary now available.
Did you do this on purpose? Turn that light back on.
We can see you though. It's kind of intimate. It's intimate.
So you're looking at those pitchers that are going to go twice a week. That's going to pretty much be the guys that people are going to be going after the most. How much do you spend on a guy? We noticed it last year. A guy like Steven Kwan went for anywhere from $100 to $250 of $1,000 fab, for the season last year. And, you got to figure out how to spend on a guy. When we were doing those fab shows and talking about, recap of what happened in the last week and name that fab bid, it was amazing to see, like, I put out $120 fab bid and the runner up was like 25. And that's really frustrating. It takes some time to get used to how much you should spend on a guy. Are you overpaying? And when you talk about spending on a guy, are you going for the long term or are you going for the short term? When I look at my fab decisions, injury of players or players that are possibly in jeopardy of losing their job. So that's a possibility as well. Generally, when you're thinking about guys that are losing their job, you think about guys that are, we're a couple months into the season and they're not performing at all. And you may look at a guy who's playing second or third base, who's starting to crush the ball in AA or AAA. And, where's that team playing in terms of, are they a team that's probably selling and getting rid of a guy and want to pull somebody up? What I've also noticed is hitters are going to be more available than pitchers when it comes to fab decisions. Now, obviously, this depends on your league. If you're in a league where there's not as many draft picks early season compared to something that's going to be, 50 picks or whatever, I think hitters are a little more available.
Yeah, that's fair.
Fool and his money are lucky enough to get together in the first place.
Yeah, you just never
know. The last point I'm going to make is, you talk about pitchers that are coming up. Very few pitchers come up in their first start and are going to go 7 innings. You're going to see maybe 4, possibly 5 innings from a guy. So if it's going to be a spot start of a guy coming up, like, do you really want to take the risk for a guy that's going to come up and maybe pitch 4 innings? And it could take one bad inning where maybe he walks a couple guys and then a home run and then it completely destroys his ERA. Or is it going to be a guy who's going to be there for the long term when he comes up?
Yeah, you got to think about cash, cold hard cash. What's your budget and how much of it are you willing to spend? Look at your statistical expectations. This is another part of strategy talk is if you play a roto, for example, you really should be locked in on standing points gain or standings gains points. I always mix it up because it's kind of a dyslexic thing for me, but it's really crucial in fantasy baseball that you have a ballpark idea of the targets you need to hit in your categories. And that's for roto specifically. I think with category leagues with head to head, you trying to win a number of categories per week, but the numbers you need for that can vary so greatly that it could be really difficult to make a target. I think Roto is a lot clearer in terms of the targeted number of home runs. So I need do I need 145 home runs? Do I need 115 steals to finish top 4 or higher? Those things can be quantified, organized, and laid out. And when you're looking at fab values, what percentage of your fab budget is worth a percentage of those standings and the points you need? That's what you need to take a look at. If I'm going to spend $250 on Steven Kwan, am I expecting to get 18 stolen bases? You need to put numbers on it. I think so many of us, I know this is true because I've done it a billion times in my life. I'll spend a bunch of money on a guy in FAAB, but I'm not really laying out the literal amount of statistical output I expect to get from that player. That's a huge thing that we need to talk about more, and we need to reform. If I'm spending $150, am I expecting to get 13 home runs at, I don't know, June 18th? Is it a June 18th FAAB? Is it a August 4th FAAB? Is it a May 1st FAAB? These are all things you need to consider. What week is it? How much time is left? How much output am I going to get for every category that I expect to get from that player as well? You got to think about this stuff. Just don't pick up a guy because you know he has value. What does that mean? That's too vague.
Yeah.
If you want to win money, you got to be more specific and detail-oriented. I really believe that.
It's like the new girlfriend theory. Like, you get a new girlfriend and she's the hot stuff for like a week, but like, are you thinking what's going to happen during the summer? You got a big summer coming up. You're 18, 19 years old. You want to spend it with your boys, but you got a new girlfriend. Is she going to stick on that roster for a while? I don't know.
Wait, can you clarify this one now? So it's like a new girlfriend. You're not sure if she's going to be around for the long haul. Is it like a summer fling?
Yeah, like you get excited because like all your buddies went home from college for the summer, and it's like, oh, I met this girl. Yeah, she's gonna be great. But like,
yeah, like the trash man goes home for the summer.
I'm the trash man. Two of my buddies come home, and now she's kicked to the curb. Think about it that way when you're making your FAAB picks. Like, is that FAAB player gonna stick around all summer? Or is this just like a hot cup of coffee for 2 weeks?
Okay.
Ho, ho, slow down there, Speed Racer.
All right, look, I think I'm going to lay this out more in detail, but I wanted to cover the overall basics of it. Consider the amount of money you're spending. And if you're also targeting a guy in waiver wire, what your waiver wire position is and who you could realistically add. Because if you have daily waiver wires that run every 2 days or maybe run every 48 hours, 24 hours, you have to decide in head-to-head cats leagues, is this going to help me this week? Because then you can think in micro terms. There's so many different ways and so many different types of leagues. It's important that context is everything. It's everything. I want to win on Sunday at the end of a week. If I want to win my head-to-head cats league, 6-4, it's a 10-cat week. I need to win at least 6-4. Will picking up a guy on a Wednesday who only has one more start as a starting pitcher, is that going to help me get over the top in the whip and the ERA, or is it K9? What your categories are and what your specific needs are in a micro environment, those things matter. This is all typical stuff. It really is.
Yeah, and I think in head-to-head leagues, it's almost like you almost need to have 2 or 3 spots on your roster where you have the ability to drop a couple guys and you can interchange people, especially in head-to-head leagues where streaming is so huge, especially with starting pitchers when you get towards the weekend, that maybe you have to have those spots. And it depends how many, roster spots you have on your team. But let's say you have 25 to 27 roster spots. And a lot of my head-to-head leagues, I'm actually, it's really helpful to me if I have 2 or 3 guys that are expendable that maybe I could pick back up later on, because you need to stream some pitchers. And that's the big difference with head-to-head is weekend streaming is absolutely huge when you're trying to pick up 1 to 2 categories.
Yep.
The illusion has become real. And the more real it becomes, the more desperate they want it.
Oh, Gecko.
It's all true. Hey, if you want to win your fantasy baseball league, just listen to Gordon Gecko. Learn from the master, Gecko the Great. Okay, so that's some FAAB talk there. Again, dissect your budget. How much do you want to have available to big money expenditures? What is your average? Look at your previous seasons. If you've never played before, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but you can ask others like us. If you've never played fantasy baseball before, we want our show to be for everybody. And we got hardcore players, but we want newcomers to come in here. Be a part of things. You're a newcomer. Feel welcome here. Connect with us. Follow us on Twitter. Join the Discord.
Utah.
2 L's,
Give me 2.
2 Z's. That's how you spell Pallazzo. It's very easy. You can join the Discord and the Twitter feed and ask us questions, or ask us on the personal Twitter. See Deary 1999 or MJ Govier, as you please. But remember, look at your weekly expenditure. You don't have to spend every week, but odds are you could average it out too. Like, okay, I got $1,000 FAAB budget for a season. I've got 27 weeks, and am I going to spend, $20 a week on average? There's going to be big pops for guys. Like, I remember 2 years ago in my main event, my first main event, Tyler O'Neill was available, and I lost the bid. The winning bid was like $280 for him. I spent a lot less. And this was early in the season, so I felt more nervous about spending big money because it was May. It was late April or early May at the absolute latest, and I was paranoid, like, oh boy, I don't know if I can spend this much money right now.
That's putting it mildly.
But if Tyler O'Neill, which he ended up having a excellent, this was the 2021 season when he was really, really
Great
good.
player. Yep.
Yeah, that was worth it. It was worth spending that money because of the return on the investment. You've heard ROI a million times. You know what return on investment means. But in 2021, the guy had 34 home runs. That's a 144 WRC plus, by the way, in 2021. That's incredible. Wow, Tyler O'Neill. That was mind-blowing. So it was worth to spend $281 for that. Basically, I think he only hit like 3 or 4 home runs before that. So a guy got $250, 30 home runs, about 80 runs scored, and 12 steals.
Yeah,
I think that's worth it.
FAAB creates so much of a different style of how you need to play, and it's just an extra wrinkle to being a fantasy baseball player. I mean, for years, I was in this head-to-head league where it was basically just like football. It was waiver priority, and I pushed our commissioner. I'm like, this is just not fun, where it's just like, okay, I have the 8th waiver priority on a guy. This is just not fun. Let's spice up the pot a little more and make it a FAAB where everybody's an opportunity to get a guy. So if you're an early fantasy player and you're just starting off now, get into a league that has FAAB, because it creates an extra wrinkle, but it also creates the opportunity for everybody in the league to snag a player.
Booyah.
It's a bonus element that provides more strategy too. Well, waiver wires are so antiquated. It's my turn. That's it. No, I want strategy in every corner of my fantasy baseball map. I want to have an opportunity to use my mind to take advantage of others, not just from random chance either. And, FAAB can be random chance, but it's skill-based. It really is. I mean, ask Vlad Sedler, the master himself, the roto-gut extraordinaire. He knows a lot about FAAB, and he's not just a guy who's randomly doing things. Shout out to Vlad, who's my homie, and I'll be seeing in Vegas soon, by the way. Our tickets are booked for Vegas. We're ready to rock. Me and Leanne are flying out to Vegas for the main event draft. March 23rd, we're going to be bunking up with Justin Mason. He's going to be our bunkmate. We're doing it again. Me and Leanne stayed with my mom in a hotel room last summer. Did not go great, I got to say. It was too cold for my mom. She really freaked out. She thought her legs were going to fall off because of the air conditioning.
They were going to fall off?
It was weird, man. It was... I don't really know how to describe it, but she was freaking out.
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah, that is putting it mildly. But this is going to go much better. Justin Mason is a great bunkmate. I feel confident in that. Jaybird's in the house. What's up, Jaybird? Jay says, FAAB over waiver order, just like auction over snake draft. Yes.
Wow,
that is a great
dude.
point. I shouldn't be doing snakes anymore, but I'm still a part of it. I understand that auctions provide more of a strategy element. I'm doing the auction draft in a couple weeks for Tout Wars. I'm really excited about it, and I can't wait to see how it goes. And in-person auction, too, where they're... It's going to be wild, man. I can't wait to get that going. It's going to be fun.
I think that's the way to go if you're going to do an auction. It's got to be in person. You need that banter back and forth.
I saw him do it at First Pitch Arizona for the first time in person a couple years ago. Jeff Erickson was there from RotoWire, and he was 20. All right, Marcel Ozuna, $4, $6, 8, 10. Yeah, it was awesome. He really nailed it. And I want to do that. If somebody wants an auctioneer for their auction live draft, I am now offering my talents and skills to be your auctioneer for your draft. That goes for football, too. I'll do it all.
You're the guy.
Next up. Number 20. Oh, okay. I was trying to do my Jack Buck from Sports Talk Baseball. Next up, the designated hitter. All right. How do you construct a team in head-to-head, Deary? Well, first off, if it's head-to-head cats, that's different than head-to-head points, right?
Yes. Yeah, head-to-head points, you're looking value more than anything.
And pitchers have a lot more of a say because innings pitched are usually a big bonus in points leagues. So for me, in head-to-head cats, which is my home league, shout out to the BYB, bless you boys. I've been in that league now for, I think almost 9 years. I can't believe it. It's been that long. I've won it 3 times. Should have won my 4th title last year, but Travis screwed me. But Travis is a nice guy. It's hard to be mad at him. He's really good at spreadsheets and shit. So good job, Travis. But I don't value starting pitching in that league at all. We have keepers in it too. We rotate. I do like this angle of our league. We rotate from 6 keepers, and then the next year we'll do 8, and then the following year we'll do 10, and then we'll go back down again the following year, back to 8, and then the following year back to 6. It's cool.
That's fun.
It allows you, like, you build up and you're like, oh no, it's constant strategy you have to think about, and it keeps the player pool always kind of moving and shifting, makes one draft more valuable than another depending on the year, and that part of it's cool. But we don't have FAAB in that league. We're still doing goddamn waiver wires, which is ridiculous. But I don't value starting pitching in the head-to-head Cats leagues, and I never will, especially in keeper leagues, because I feel like if I can lock down the hitting, Deary, I can stream pitchers too. This is the other thing with head-to-head leagues. You can stream pitchers that I think can really be a benefit.
Yeah, I mean, we started as head-to-head players, and I'm actually getting to a point where I enjoy Roto more. I think I'm becoming a more successful player in Roto, Keeper, and Dynasty compared to Redraft head-to-head. What I do enjoy about head-to-head is the trading aspect, the pickups. Now, you really have to, I play in a 12-team head-to-head. I play in a 14-team head-to-head, and I also play in a 6-team head-to-head, 16-team head-to-head. And what really has started to bother me over the last couple of years, especially now that we've been doing slow drafts a lot with the NFC and the Pallazzo podcast, please sign up. League 6 is rocking right now. If we can get that filled out, is I enjoy a slow clock more than anything. For years, I have been playing in these head-to-head leagues where it's 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. And it's like, why are we trying to rush through a draft? It's really frustrating to me.
It's so annoying. I bitched about it last week's episode, remember?
Like, it sucks. Like, give me some time. Like, and the thing is like, you and I do a podcast, so we put in the work. We do a lot of our evaluations. I do a lot of projections on my own. And I know there's probably, in my home leagues, there's probably at least half the league that do zero research going in, and then all of a sudden you're doing a 1.5 minute clock and you got to make a pick, and it's based on your ADP basically. Like, what is wrong with a slow clock? A slow clock is fucking amazing.
No, I can't take the time off work.
I agree.
So, but there's also some advantages that make head-to-head really fun. I mean, you can have that banter back and forth with who you're playing. You have the strategy when you get to the end of a week where, okay, I've hit my innings limit. I've gone over the innings, so I can sit certain pitchers. I can make pickups if I'm trying to, pick up a category here or there. If I'm trying to pick up saves or, wins or strikeouts, and in head-to-head, high leverage relief guys have been the bee's knees over the last couple of years. I have done really well in head-to-head leagues by having high leverage relief guys that could be save plus holds, which I play in a couple save plus holds leagues, but guys that are giving me really, really good ratios. I've stayed away from the hype train in a lot of my head-to-head leagues, because most head-to-head leagues, at least that I play in, are not 30 rounds, not 35 rounds, not 50 rounds like the Pallazzo pod, where it's 23 rounds. I'm going to stay away from those guys that are hype train guys, and I'm going to try to pick them up maybe later on when I feel they're going to be getting pulled up. But the one thing that's really pushed me away from head-to-head is, so I was looking back at my home league, a bunch of my high school buddies, we've been doing this almost 20 years now, 16 teams in a head-to-head. I finished in 14th place last year. I crunched some numbers. If this was a Roto league, I would have finished in 7th place if it was a Roto league.
You got too much Roto on the brain.
And that's what's happened over the last 3 years. But the reason I finished in, way down in the league standings is because I had league weeks where I just got completely blown out. And that's like really, really frustrating. There's going to be weeks that you can't control where you have a pitcher that gets blown up, a reliever that comes in and doesn't get that save, gives up a couple home runs. You have a guy that goes 0 for 24 for the week. You're not hitting home runs. And how can you control not getting blown out in a week? You could have one of the best rosters in the league, but you know how baseball works. It's peaks and valleys. There's going to be times where guys go dormant for a week, and it's really hard with head-to-head. So I'm actually moving away from head-to-head, getting more excited about Roto, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be done with head-to-head, because it does add that element of being able to talk a little bit of shit with your friends and that strategy of being able to make pickups left and right, especially in pitching to fix some things.
Yeah, Bubba says head-to-head is frustrating. Roto is the way to go. Cumulative stats. I remember I had a phase about, I think it was 8 years ago. I started getting so pissed. Head-to-head's so dumb. It's so much random luck. Yeah. I can't stand it anymore. If this was a Roto league, I'd be number one. Look at my stats. They're the best. Blah, 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 blah. You hear the bells, and you get excited, and you think, I'm going to win this league, but you're going in with the frame of mind that isn't proper for that league setup. If you're head-to-head, you got to think head-to-head. You really do have to have like a template in your mind for each league, and it's not something that you can easily deviate from, Deary. I don't believe you can, because I've lived it myself. I've actively had to just separate between 12 and 15 team leagues in Roto. That alone is a challenge, because there's certain players you have to cross off a list in a 12-team league of Roto versus a 15-team league of Roto. If you don't do that, then you're going to be drafting guys that are, he's a 15-team stud, but in a 12-team league, he doesn't belong on your roster. These are the little things you have to be prepared to change and adjust to.
I will say the excitement of watching baseball when you are in a head-to-head and you're trying to accumulate stats for the week is very, very exciting. So that's my defense of head-to-head. So, for a fantasy player like myself, I play points leagues, I play head-to-head, I play Roto.
Yeah.
Roto, for when it comes to draft, the draft is far more important for a Roto where you have FAAB. In head-to-head, I feel like I can mix my team up and make some improvements over the season with trades, with pickups, especially when you have pickups daily.
Yep.
I feel like I can pick up some ground here or there, but when you have a really good week, but you bet 330, but your opponent bets 345 and you're losing that category, is very, very frustrating.
Jaybird says, you just described fantasy baseball. Score the second most points in a week and lose your matchup. Lock that in. Oh, yeah. Well, the head-to-head is all football is. There's no Roto football, although there's also... Well, I'll hold off on that, but I was thinking about how it's becoming more commonplace for head-to-head matchups to play everybody. This is the new way now.
Best ball football is the way to go now, I think.
Well, but even in head-to-head baseball, you play everybody in the week. I'm in a points Dynasty league that I do with Phil Goyette, who's a former member of the show on the Prospects Power Half Hour. Shout out, Phil, my Irish brother from Flint. And we play everybody every week. You match up against everybody, and it all adds up. You just have bigger numbers in your standings for wins and losses. That's all that's changing, but it's also more fair. I'm just saying.
Absolutely. Because it has the element of Roto and head-to-head at the same time.
Big truth. Jaybird says head-to-head, you can punt cats. That's true. Yep. You could punt. People try to punt saves in Roto, and not in overall. Overall meaning there's multiple leagues within an umbrella of a bigger tournament, if you will. But in an individual league, you could punt some cats, I think, and still pull it off. It depends. Not easy to do. Bubba said, if you had Bo Bichette in the head-to-head last year, you were screwed. Roto, not so much. Now, I'm going to disagree with this, because if you recall, late last year, during the head-to-head playoffs, the one and only Bo Bichette hit 3 dongs in one game. Do you remember this late in the year? It happened.
Yeah, and that's huge, short as a week.
Yeah, for a playoff matchup in head-to-head, that was money. Now, you might not have got that far because Bo Bichette let you down in head-to-head during the season. But if you made it, if you somehow traded, that's another thing. Trades are huge. Head-to-head trades mean anything. They mean everything to me. Making deals at the deadline and improving your roster for the stretch run to look at the schedule. I'm telling you, in head-to-head, you got to look at the playoff schedule. You got to always be locked in on that. Even if it's points or cats, Deary, making decisions about what are the best playoff matchups, which teams are shit, which teams are mailing it in, which teams can be feasted upon for pitching or hitting. Look ahead to that schedule and be ready to make the moves before everybody else catches up to it. If you could be 1 week ahead of everybody else, that could be a huge advantage in head-to-head.
Yeah, and it's going to get to a point where this season where I'm going to have to look at what happens down the stretch, because in years past, a lot of interdivisional play is happening to try to figure out the divisional winner. But obviously the schedule has changed this year. You're playing everybody in the league. So that's something that I'm going to have to take a point to when I'm looking at, the playoffs, because I imagine it's going to be a little different when you get down the stretch.
Yeah, that's true. You don't want to be taken advantage of, and that can happen to a lot of us in head-to-head.
He used you, G.
Chad says, this hit me hard, though. I got buried to end my run last year because of Matt Olson going 0 for 149. 0 for 149.
Wow, dude.
To end the year. Holy shit. Lock that in. That is a nightmare from hell. I didn't know it was that bad.
It's probably why in Glarf I was in first place going into last month and everything fell apart, because Olson was my 3rd round pick and everything fell apart last year at the end for him.
Shit. God, that's brutal. That is brutal. I want to get to at least one more thing here before we go. Which one of these? We could pick one of these that we didn't get to, and we could save it for next time, Deary. Do you want to do one of these?
Yeah, I want to talk about how to prioritize cats with equal value.
Okay. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, so I was doing some some digging last night, and this is what I do every single year. So I look at cats that might be easier to get late versus what we call scarcity stats. So
and by the way, this is all the categories in a head-to-head league, right? We're saying?
Yeah. So
or are we saying?
No, I'm.
Or for Roto
at,
too, right? Because it's all weighted equally 1-1-1.
This is mainly Roto, so I'm looking at home runs, RBIs, stolen.
They're all weighted as 1.
In average. It could be different if you're playing head-to-head. There could be, and I'm talking about hitting particularly, and we're not talking about OBP. So I was doing a little diving last night, and this is what I've been doing for the last couple of years. Is I look at the ideal player that I want to have. So how can people talk about when you draft that in the first couple of rounds there's going to be a handful of 5-cat guys, right? So I think about, I want an ideal player when I get towards round 7 and beyond. So in my mind, an ideal player who could be a 5-cat contributor. I think of this as the top 60 in every single one of these categories. So last year, home runs, 21 guys had 30 plus home runs, but 60 had 20 plus, right? In runs, 24 guys had 90 plus runs, but 44 had 80. Okay. RBIs, 22 guys had 90 plus, but 39 had 80 plus.
Okay.
Stolen bases, 20 had 20 plus, 45 had 10 plus. In average, 11 guys had a 300 average or more, and 43 guys had a 270 plus or more. So I equated that out into looking for an ideal player I could draft, and I'm thinking round 6, 7, 8, and beyond. So I'm looking at a guy who could give me 5 possible 5-cat, 5-cat, helping me out, 5-cat, guy. Looking for an ideal player. So 20 plus home runs, 73 runs, 71 RBI, 7 stolen bases, and a 261 average. So that would kind of be the median of a 5-cat guy, right? How close can I get in each of those categories? Can I find some players that might overperform in a few of those cats, but don't hurt me too much in the others? Players who did it in 2022, there's 14 players who had all 5 of those categories. They had 20 plus home runs, 73 RBIs, 70 runs, 7 stolen bases, and a 261 average. There's only 14 guys that did it last year. But when I'm looking at round 6, 7, 8, and beyond, how many of those guys can get at least close to that? And I ended up landing on one guy that I got in round 8 of the Pallazzo podcast. I got him also in TGFBI. Gleyber Torres is a guy that gets close to something like that. So if I look at his stats from last year,
911.
24 home runs. So that gets above that 20 home runs, 74 runs. That gets one above that 73 run threshold, 80 RBI. So that's 9 above the 71 RBIs, 10 stolen bases, and a 257 average. And then I look at what the ceiling could be. So this is why I encourage people to make their own projections. It's helpful to look at other projections and then dig deeper into this. So what could the ceiling for a guy like Gleyber Torres be? It could be 30 home runs, 85 runs, 90 RBIs, 15 stolen bases, and a 265 average. In my mind, that's a 5-cat guy in round 8. Now, there's going to be the guys in the, first round, second round, third round that will exceed that, and they're going to be more of a plus player. So when you start to prioritize cats with equal value, how can you find a guy that's going to be later in the draft that it's going to give you 3 cats, 4 cats, possibly 5 cats? This is the one thing that really killed me in Glarf last year is I drafted way too many guys that were 2 to 3 cat guys. I look at guys like Rafael Devers was my first pick at the number 15 slot in Glarf last year. He was a 4-cat guy.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
My 3rd round pick was Matt Olson. He was only 3 cats. Judge was my 4th round pick, so that was completely different. And I got murdered by injury later on. But there are guys that they're maybe not considered 5-cat guys because most of those guys are first round, second round. But there are some
they're the best of the best.
Yeah, there are some values later in the draft that, especially with the new rules this year, that could be more 5-cat contributors. And I think Gleyber Torres is that one guy that I'm thinking about that maybe he's not giving you that ceiling of other second basemen or shortstops. I'm thinking of Fernando Tatis, but he could really come close to something like that. And this is what I prioritize when it comes to cats that have equal value. And I'm looking at certain scarcity stats. Can I get close to those performance stats that I'm talking about of the 20, 73, 71, 7, and 261 as I get further in the draft? And as I'm starting to notice, especially in TGFBI and the Pallazzo podcast draft that I'm going through, is I'm finding guys in the late 100s that are actually getting close to these categories. And someone who's only been a roto player for the last 3-4 years, this is helping me build a much better team as I move forward.
Up your butt, Joe Boo.
Well, how about that shit? That's some good stuff, Deary. As Bubba said, Deary Linux. I love it. Deary Linux. I love that. I got to say, I think that makes a lot of sense. There's always the tendency to want to, shoot for the stars with a lot of our picks. What we think will happen. We all want to be the smartest person in the room. And if you don't have a sheet or something on your screen in front of you that lays out exactly what you're trying to accomplish, I think you're going to be in real trouble. Deary, that makes a ton of sense. I dig it. I dig it a lot. Remember that. These are weighted categories. They're all equal. No category is more powerful than the other, but some are harder to fill than the others. That is a tenet of fantasy baseball. That's why I believe that this year stolen bases will be much more fruitful, so you don't have to reach as much on stolen base guys. That's my opinion. And again, I can't prove that. That's just my expectation on where baseball is going over the last couple of years, trying to create more in-action moments, and steals are part of that.
Well, I brought I brought up Gleyber Torres, and last year he had 11 steals, but he had the best sprint speed of his career last year. So I think 15 to 17 is much more doable this year, and that makes him a pretty decent value.
Yeah, and that's the thing about spring training is you really can't glean what they're doing with strategy, like a manager's strategy, because there's just too many guys coming in and out of a lineup, and they're bozo spring training games. They just don't have that same certainty of strategy and expectation for in-season games that you'll see in the regular season. It's important to don't get too caught up with, like we said earlier in the show, someone mentioned Salvador Perez stole a base. The world is ending. Yeah, that might happen some more, but we can't assume that Mike Quattro's, the manager of the Royals, that his goal will to have more frequency of steal opportunities for Salvador Perez. We just don't know that. Anthony wants to really out of randomly, which we love random shit on the show. As you can tell, we have all kinds of buttons here that are random. My AL infield, Danny Jansen, Christian Betancourt, Nate Lowe, Gleyber Torres, as Deary just mentioned, Bobby Witt, and Corey Seager. That's a great infield, buddy. Are you gloating? Is that what you're doing, my friend? Because it looks good. Yes, I love it. Anthony also says spring training is noise. It is noise, but sometimes a guy comes up and really produces, and then he goes on to have a good season. It does happen, but don't get caught up in it. Anthony also says horrible players hit home runs. Yes, exactly. There's a lot of shit pitchers who are not going to make the big league club serving up bombs. And this reminds me of earlier in the show, Deary, somebody mentioned, hey, the Tigers look for real, man. Andre Lipschitz and Tyler Nevin are hitting bombs. They're looking for real. But who are those home runs off of? Who served them up? Who are they going against? Who was on the mound?
It's a 65-win team. Come on, man.
Oh, I actually think they'll win more than that. I really do.
Oh, really? How?
No, you're right. It doesn't make sense. See, this is where laying out the season with all the other teams in the division, you think the White Sox are going to be way better, so that's more wins for the White Sox.
Yes.
The Twins should be better, more wins for the Twins. The Guardians will still be just as good as they were, and then that leaves the Royals and Tigers to fight for the leftovers, the remains. You're right.
I think it's a really difficult division, and I think the Royals are on a way better track than the Tigers when it comes to prospects.
In terms of their talent and the way it looks right now, I would agree with that, but it's also more from a fantasy perspective. I think in real life, the Tigers and Royals are not that far apart for real life baseball. I think Hinch is a good manager. I do think AJ Hinch is still a solid manager. I mentioned that in my Groovy with Govier article. Did you hear about this? How AJ Hinch flew down to Puerto Rico and spent a week with Javi Baez in the offseason? Have you ever heard of anything like this in your life?
No, never.
Wow,
I
dude.
think it's amazing. And, I love the hire when they brought in Hinch. I just wish it happened right after Leland left, because I think he would have gotten a lot more out of that team than the team he's got now. And it's like, AJ Hinch is a really good manager, but I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep him around before he gets scooped up by somebody else that has more talent.
That's fair. That's completely fair. And so, really considering what Deary said there, you can go back and you can replay this and you can listen to it in audio form. Really like what you were saying there about what we're looking for in certain parts of the draft when it comes to these categories that are evenly weighted. When you play in points leagues that don't have evenly weighted categories, that's completely different. Yeah. And again, the context of your league is everything. We're trying to talk strategy. This is what it is. It's a strategy session. We're breaking it down. And even though my audio sucked for the first half hour, we've had a nice hour of clean audio. And the only regret I'll have is that if people won't be able to get through the first half hour, they won't hear or see this. And I really hope you do, because Deary really made the effort there. And I'm telling you, when we're doing stuff like that, we can combine a little bit of hilarity and the legitimate information. As Anthony says right here, I love it when they call you Big Papa. That's right, buddy. I love you too, Anthony. So that's going to do it for now. We're going to hold it there. We'll do another strategy session because we still have a few more topics that we haven't covered, right? And I would like to finish those. We'll do one more strategy session before opening day, I think. But, I mean, player analysis is... We're going to do some more player analysis. I did want to play Shiner Ride... Do we have time to play Shiner Ride the Pine? Or?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, let's do a quick...
Let's do a quick round.
Yeah. We love Shiner Ride the Pine.
We got to do it every episode.
Yeah. Well...
Up your butt, Joe Boo.
That's not very nice. Come on, don't say that. That's rude. Yeah, so my dad made some music for the pod because we need like rights-free music to play under it. I was like, hey Dad, can you make some like jingles or shit that we could just play under this while we do this? So he fired up this one. I don't know if I liked it, but I don't know if he loves it. Check this one out. That's all it is. It's just that over and over again. Yeah! Tim Govier killing it.
I like the drum.
You know what's funny about those? Those are fake drums. It's amazing how good they sound now. It's unreal. But yeah, my dad's got a studio in his basement. And I was like, Dad, why don't you fire up some stuff? He's got like this old producer setup. So,
it's
that's
close to what the Groovin' with Govier theme should be, but it's not there yet. Close.
Does it ever end? Oh, it does end. Okay, there it is. Okay. So he made that one. I was looking for something like, hey, I need something like upbeat. Can you do like something that's like rockin', but that's like upbeat? And that one got a little bit more funky, like. So he also came up with this one too.
Oh, this is like Scorpions. I like the first one. The first one's a little more groovy.
This is what you do when you tell your dad to like do something, but you don't provide any guidance. I mean, what am I? That's my fault. It's totally. I need to be more specific with it. But, anyways, thanks, Dad. That was fun stuff. I appreciate that. So, anyways, Shine or Ride the Pine is a game we play. We take a look at the upcoming season that is about to come, and we tell you whether we shine it or we ride the pine on the projections that we're looking at. And today's projections, whose projections should we use today, Deary? I'm not sure which one you want to go with. We've used Stomper, and we've used ATC last week, I believe. Where you want to go this week?
Did we use ATC last week?
We did. Remember we were on Fangraphs.
Did we really?
You were here, yes. You can check the old episode. I swear it happened. It's a real thing.
Wow, dude.
All right. You want to go back to let's go back to Stomper because we love Steve Paulo.
He's our guy. He's our guy.
Steve Paulo, StomperProjections.com for 2023 are live and available. We're big fans of his work because he takes risks with his projections. He's not just trying to give you like
the aggregate
floors. Yeah, aggregates or floors of everybody. It's more than that. So we're always going to ride or die for Stomper, as you see right here. StomperProjections.com is where you can find it. Let's see. We're going to start doing repeats. I know it because I'm not keeping track of the guys we've been doing. Somebody needs to be keeping track of the guys we've already done. So, how about this? This is a guy I think we should, because I'm really confused about what to do. Michael Harris had a Rookie of the Year. He won Rookie of the Year last year in the National League. He's the current reigning Rookie of the Year. Mm-hmm. Steve Paulo says, hey, he's going to steal 35 bases this year.
Holy
shit. Shine or Ride the Pine, 35 steals for Michael Harris of the Braves.
It's so hard to quantify stolen bases with the new rules, but I'm nowhere close to 35. I have him in my projection at 22, so I'm going to ride the pine on this.
Man.
That's a lot of stolen bases. How many guys did that last year?
I mean, last year's different, though. Clearly, Steve is baking in there's going to be more steals this year because of the rule changes. So, with that said, I mean, he's got Ronald Acuna at 35 too. Oddly enough, a teammate. That's weird.
I trust that.
I'm gonna ride the pine on Harris just because I don't think he's can live up to his rookie year. I'm expecting a slight step back just because the game of baseball is really hard and you just can't be that good. In my opinion, what Julio Rodriguez did last year was like all-time insane. I think Ben Chase, my fellow on the Prospect Show, and who is always in the Discord killing it. Pallazzo Discord, 2 L's, 2 Z's.
Utah,
get in there.
Give me 2.
He said that Julio Rodriguez season's only been done 3 times in like the last 40 years or something. It was very rare. It's not something that happens every year. So I'm going to ride the pine on Michael Harris at 35 steals.
You know how many guys had 35 steals last year?
Let me think real quick. 3.
1.
Can
you name him?
Oh yeah, it's John Birdie.
No, Jorge Mateo.
John Birdie went over 35, didn't he?
Did he really?
Am I crazy? Did he not have 41 steals last year? Am I stoned?
No. Here's the problem. I'm looking at qualified. I got to look at unqualified hitters.
John Birdie did have 41 steals last year. So.
My fault.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Qualified matters, but...
Okay, so two guys, because John Birdie was not qualified. That's why. So every time I look up Fangraphs, I have to go to unqualified because there's these anomalies like John Birdie.
Yeah, that's important.
John Birdie had 41. Jorge Mateo had 35. Right after that was Cedric Mullins with 34.
Okay. So you rode the pine too? We're both riding the pine.
Yeah,
I'm Harris at 35.
It's probably 22.
All right. Well, let's go. Salvador Perez. This is fun because we did this earlier. 0 steals this year. Shine around the pine on 0 steals for Salvador Perez in 2023.
I mean, are we going to risk trying to run him? He's been in the league, 11 years
He's
now.
32 years old.
And he has 5 stolen bases in his career. I'm going to say he gets 0 this year.
No way, he's getting 1. I'm telling you, there's going to be a bozo night. There's going to be some weird, because it's just going to be so much easier to steal. I'm saying 1 for Salvador Perez.
It's going to mean something. It's going to be game dependent. And
yeah, it is. I won't deny that. I won't deny it. Here's a guy that really had a nice year. Stephen Kwan. Stephen Kwan is expected to hit 320 this year. Shine or ride the pine on Stephen Kwan hitting 320.
I love Paulo's fucking projections because they're the projections that I would love to make.
Yes.
320.
He hit 298 last year. That's pretty good.
11 guys hit over 300 last year.
No shift. No shift, more action. Yeah.
Man, 320 is really high. He did this in the minor leagues a couple times. AA, he bet 337 back in 21. Backed it with a 311 in AAA. I think he gets pretty close to 300, if not over 300, but I'm going to ride the pine on 320. That's a lot.
I'm going to shine it. I think he can win a batting title and hit 330. I really do think he can hit 330 and win a batting title this year. Why not? What the hell?
Shit, that's an amazing fantasy value where you're getting at him at ADP in terms of trying to build some average late in your draft.
Damn right. You're damn right about that. Let's go to the always injured George Springer. Like, you just never know. Projections are always difficult with Mr. Springer because, although oddly enough, he was around a fair amount last year, but he's always going to get hurt. Steve Paulo, 31 bombs for George Springer in 2023. Remember, we've got park adjustments at the Rogers Center in Toronto.
Moved him in, right?
Yeah. 31 home runs. Shine or ride the pine for George Springer.
He's only done this twice in his career, and both times were in Houston. Playing time has been an issue. He hasn't gone above 140 games in 6 years now. What's the number again? I always forget when you throw
31 home runs for George Springer.
You know what? I'm banking on him playing 140 games. I'm gonna shine this. I genuinely do not shine something like this. I'm gonna shine it.
Dude.
I'm a George Springer believer this year. I love the Blue Jays to win the AL East. I think they're going to be contending for a World Series, and if they're going to do that, he's going to be healthy. So I'm going to shine this.
George is 34 years old, yeah. Oh, well, he's 33. He will be 34 at the end of this year in September. Last year, he hit 25 home runs. He's hit over this number that we're projecting here, 31. He's done that twice in the last 7 years. 2017, he hit 34. 2019, he hit 39. Only played in 122 games when he hit 39, by the way. But that was a bozo ball. That was the year Bregman, I think, hit a bunch. It was the year the ball was flying out of the park. I'm going to ride the pine on this one. I'd like to join you, Deary, but I can't do it with George. I'm so sorry, George. It's not meant to be.
Over 30 is a huge ask, but especially with the de-juiced ball. But fuck it.
Let's go Joe Ryan, a pitcher. Looks like 182 innings are projected for Joe Ryan. Shine or ride the pine on 182 innings for Mr. Joe Ryan of the Minnesota Twins.
That's a lot of innings to ask from anybody. I think he's going to be significantly lower than that. He's 147 last year. It's his real first, cup of tea with the major leagues. I think he sits closer to 160. High would be 170. I'm going to ride the pine on this.
I want to ride the pine on it, too. I just think it's a tough number to get to. I'm always going to trend under on innings pitched. 182 for Joe Ryan. He might pitch 175, but that'll still be under. I'm going to ride the pine on 182. Well, let's see. Who else we got here? Oh, this is interesting. How about Alexis Diaz of Cincinnati, who had some late season closer potential? This year, it looks like, let's see where the saves. Got to find the save spot there. Wow. Are we looking at 25 saves? Shine or ride the pine on 25 saves for Alexis Diaz.
He's still on the Reds, right?
He is on the Reds. That is correct. Yes.
Yeah, the issue I have with Alexis Diaz is he's going to strike out a ton of guys, but his propensity to walk people is just really, really poor. He had an amazing ERA last year in his 63 innings pitched with a terrible walk percentage, a really nice strikeout percentage. Oh, God, his left-on-base percentage was 81% last year. There's no way that's going to be sustainable. And it's on a shit team. I think he gets to 20, but 25 is going to be really tough to get to. I'm going to ride the pine on this.
I'm totally riding the pine on this, even though I really do like Alexis Diaz of the Cincinnati Reds. Last year, the Reds as a team had 31 saves. So this is indicating that Diaz is the absolute closer, doesn't falter, and that the Reds will have more saves this year. The Reds and the Red Sox last year, those are two bullpens. I remember writing down my notes and keeping up on things, writing all last year. Those bullpens were horrendous. I'm riding the pine on 25 saves for Alexis Diaz. I can't do it. I can't do that. No way.
Can't trust it.
No, I mean, that's crazy.
Can't trust it.
You can't do that. I mean, he's just the type of guy that
Can't do it.
you can't do it. All right, let's try two more. We'll get out of here. Let's go to the next page. I like to get deeper. Let's get deeper and deeper. Let's not just do the easy top end guys. By the way, Joe Musgrove was hurt this week. He pulled a doofus move in the weight room. Shit happens.
Don't lift weights.
It's okay. Don't lift weights if you're a pitcher. Why are you lifting weights if you're a pitcher? I mean, be flexible, be agile, do Pilates, right? I don't get it. Taylor Ward was a hero for a moment last year. He had his moment in April and May of 2022. Deary, 22 or more home runs for Taylor Ward in 2023. Shine around the pine on 22 home runs for Ward.
Yeah, this guy busted out at the start of the season. Was absolutely amazing. Injury bug hit him and had a decent pickup by the last month of the season where he started to play well again after coming back from injury. Did you say 22? Oh,
22.
It's like right on the dot.
Can't do it.
If he's healthy and plays 140 games, I think he's right on the number. So is 22 a shine then? I think it is.
You're going to shine it. 22?
I'm going to shine it.
Yay! Okay, Taylor Ward, 22 home runs in 2023 or more. I tell you, I don't think this is ridiculous at all. I think Joe Adell is not the guy there. I think that the guy is Taylor Ward. So I'm not really worried about Adell. I'm going to join you. I'm taking over 22 home runs this year. I think the ball will fly out a bit more. There's going to be more action. This could be close. He might end up hitting about 25. But Taylor Ward, I'm going to shine and join you, Deary, on 22 or more home runs.
Can't do
it. Taylor Ward's
I can do it.
Taylor Ward's a really interesting. Taylor Ward's a really interesting fantasy prospect because Roster Resource has him leading off right now for the Angels. And anytime you have a healthy Trout, Ohtani, and maybe a healthy Rendon, also picking up Renfroe, who's going to probably hit 25 home runs, that could really help you out. So Taylor Ward is a sneaky fantasy play if he can stay healthy.
That's hilarious. Let's do another Twins. Oh, God. Anthony Rendon. How the mighty have fallen. But at least he got paid. Let's do another Twin starter to close it out. Pablo Lopez, in case you forgot, he actually was traded to the Twins. There was a lot of rumors that he might get dealt from the Marlins, but it did happen. He is now a Twin, and he gets to pitch in Target Field in the AL Central, which is a lot easier than playing in that really tough NL East. Pablo Lopez this year, Steve Paulo is projecting him to strike out at least 185. Shine around the pine on 185 or more strikeouts for Pablo Lopez, Deary.
So this is a guy who's never gone above 10.08 K per 9, and you're projecting 185. That means he's pitching at least 180 innings, which I don't think he's going to get to. Nice pickup for the Twins. I think it's a good scoop up for them. I think the Twins are going to definitely bounce back this year in the AL Central, but I don't think he's going to get to that many strikeouts. I got him closer to about 155 to 160 because I don't think he's going to get enough innings.
He struck out 174 last year. He goes to Minnesota, takes the next step forward. I'm going to shine it. I think Pablo Lopez can approach 200. If that changeup can be what it can be, I think it's close to 200. I think he can get over 185. He might get to 190. I'm going to shine it.
Yes!
If he gets to that, he's an incredible fantasy value for where he's going ADP wise right now.
Yeah, if you need Ks and he can pop that K number, I'm telling you, it's all going to... The Twins pitching, I mean, they've done things with Joe Ryan, and he's growing, so I figure that Pablo Lopez is the perfect guy to step in and lead the charge on this rotation. I'm excited for Pablo in 2023. Should be fun. All right, well, that's going to do it. We did our show. Anthony was here, and he had a lot to say, but also so did Jamie, my man. Jake McCarthy from the D-backs and Andrew Vaughn from the Sox. Yeah, we should have done that. We'll do those guys next time. We'll take a rain check on Shine Around the Pine. He's Christopher Deary, CDeary1999 on Twitter. I'm at MJ Govier. Of course, Pallazzo Podcast, 2 L's, 2 Z's.
Give me 2.
Sorry about the audio for the first half hour, but we did a great show otherwise. I'm proud of us. This has been a ton of fun. We hope you took something from it. We now hand it over to the soon-to-be star of the upcoming The Pope's Exorcism, none other than Russell Crowe.
Just giving up? God damn. Proof of life 2. Proof of life 2.
Proof of life 2. Proof of life 2. We're waiting for it, Russell. You know that this is the official fantasy baseball podcast of Russell Crowe, so you better give us Proof of Life 2. Take it over, Russ.
Right, lads. Now, I know there's not a faint heart among you. And I know you're as anxious as I am to get into close action. But we must bring him right up beside us before we spring this trap. That will test our nerve. And discipline will count just as much as courage. The Acheron is a tough nut to crack. More than twice our guns, more than twice our numbers. And they will sell their lives dearly. They mean to take us as a prize. And we are worth more to them undamaged. Their greed will be their downfall. England is under threat of invasion. And though we be on the far side of the world, this ship is our home. This ship is England. So it's every hand to his rope or gun, quick's the word and sharp's the action. After all, surprise is on our side.